Section 8.4. This is where we're going to factor quadratic equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So in 8.3, that was always 1. In 8.4, it's not going to be 1 ever. It's going to be something other than 1. Okay, so I have kind of our list of 6 things, the order in which we want to try to factor things. So we always look for the greatest common factor first. We don't know these two yet. 8.3, we learned how to factor a trinomial with a leading coefficient equal to 1. We don't know 5 yet. And 6, we learned to group. So this is actually going to be number 5. It is a trinomial, which I'm just going to abbreviate as tri, with the leading coefficient not equal to 1. So in other words, A is going to be something besides 1. There are going to be 2 different methods that I show you. All right, I'll start with the first one, which is just going to be called guess and check. So you'll definitely want to do this method in pencil, because if you guess wrong, you have to be able to erase it, obviously. So section 8.4, let's see here, guess and check. All right, number 1, or example number 1. If we have 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. Now, the perfect scenario is that one of these two numbers, A or C, is prime. Because if it's prime, you can automatically, like if that was a 3, I could put 3 and 1 right here. Because there aren't any more factors. Unfortunately, with 6, we have 6 and 1 as well as 3 and 2. And I don't know if it's going to be 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. I don't know yet. I have to guess and check. With 10, we have 10 and 1, or we have 5 and 2. So I could have a 10 here and a 1 here, or I could have a 5 here and a 2 here. I don't know yet. Again, I have to guess and check. That's negative. So that tells me different signs, just like it did in the last section. However, I can't just blindly put a plus and a minus yet. I have to actually figure that out last. And then we'll get into why that is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my x's. I don't know what my coefficients are yet. So I want to point out something. Notice with this 6x squared minus 11x minus 10, there is no greatest common factor. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it is, because it helps us in the guess and check portion. Because what I can't do, if I'm guessing and checking, okay, I can't put a 6 here, a 1 here, and then a 2 here, and a 5 here. Okay, now, 6 times 1 is 6, and 2 times 5 is 10, but I automatically know this one isn't right, because this factor right here of 6x and either plus or minus 2 has a greatest common factor of 2, doesn't it? None of these can have a greatest common factor if there isn't a greatest common factor up here. So that helps us kind of eliminate some of them. So I could try 5 and 2 though. And what you're going to want to do is multiply the middle terms, and that gives you 5x, and then multiply the outside terms, 6x and 2, that gives you 12x. Because we know there are different signs, we know we want to take the difference of this. So 12 minus 5 is 7, and that does not match here, so this is wrong. Okay. So now I have to go back and erase. Again, this is why we call it guess and check. If I want to try the 10 and the 1, again, I can't put a 10 here because 6 and 10 have a common factor of 2. And that common factor isn't up here, so it won't be down here either. So I can try 1 and 10 though. 1 and 1 is 1x, 6 and 10 is 60x. Subtract them, you get 59, and that doesn't work. So we've tried 6 and 1 with every possible combination over here, so I can eliminate 6 and 1. It definitely is not 6 and 1. So let's try 3x and 2x then. That's the next set of factors that will give me 6x squared. Okay, I'm going to try 5 and 2. Now, I can't put a 2 here. Again, 2 and 2 has a common factor of 2. It can't be here if it's not up here. But I can try 5 and 2 this way because there's not a greatest common factor between 3 and 2 and 2 and 5. So multiply these, and I get 4x. Multiply these, I get 15x. Subtract 11x. That's what I want. Now, that happens to be a negative 11, which means I need my bigger number to be negative, so that has to be negative 15, and that has to be positive 4. Well, in order to get a positive 4, 2 times 2 has to be positive 2 times positive 2, and 3 times 5 needs to be times a negative 5. So there are my two factors. 3x plus 2 and 2x minus 5. Now, I didn't do this for the first example, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems like, 9 times out of 10, if not 19 times out of 20 times, the whatever and 1 that I started with doesn't work. So I always start with the other one first. Like I said, I didn't this time just to show you. I didn't want to guess right the first time and not show you what to do when you guess wrong. So, all right, let's do one more guess and check. So let's do example 2. Let's do 15x squared minus 29x plus 12. Okay, 15 has factors of 15 and 1 and then 5 and 3. 12 has 12 and 1, 6 and 2, and 4 and 3. So there's a whole bunch of factors of 12 there. Again, don't start with the something and 1. So I'm going to start with 5x and 3x. And again, I'm just guessing. I don't know if those are it or not. Now, this one's a little bit better than the first example because that's positive, which tells me they're same signs, and the signs are negative. I can tell from that middle term. So I can put minus and minus already. And again, I'm not going to start with 12 and 1 here. So I'm going to start with maybe 6 and 2. I can't put 6 over here because 3 and 6 have a common factor of 3. And again, if the common factor is here, it has to be up here too. If it's not here, it can't be here. So my only guess I can put is 6 and 2. Multiply these, I get 18. Multiply the outside, I get 10. 18 plus 10 is 28. So 6 and 2 do not work with 5 and 3. I'm going to leave the 5 and 3 there though. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. I just need to try the next set. Okay, 4 and 3. Again, I can't put a 3 here because that would have that common factor. So the 4 has to go here and the 3 has to go here. Multiply these, I get negative 9x. Multiply these, I get negative 20x. Negative 9 and negative 20 is negative 29. So there are my two factors. 5x minus 3 and 3x minus 4. All right, the next method I just learned in March myself. I'd never seen it before. Actually, my 7th grade math teacher, who has a daughter, I guess your age or maybe a year older, is in an algebra class over at South Knox maybe. And he posted about this method that his daughter learned on Facebook. And I Googled it or YouTubed it or whatever and found out about it. And I really like it. I'm going to definitely emphasize it next year in the future. And that's called the slip and slide method. I wish I really understood why it worked. I don't. But it works. So I guess that's all we really need to care about. 8x squared, this is example 3. It does take a little more room. I hope I don't run out of room, especially since I can't use that top fourth right there, but I'll try to make it work. 8x squared plus 22x plus 15. Okay, the first thing you do is take a times c, so 8 times 15, which is 120. That becomes your new c term. And then the 8 goes away. So we get x squared plus 22x plus 120. So now we have a trinomial with a leading coefficient equal to 1, which we just learned how to do in the previous video. That means same signs. That means they're both positive. That means it's both x and x. So I got x plus and x plus. And now I need to find two numbers whose product is 120 and whose sum is 22. That is the downside of this method. You end up with pretty big numbers over here. But if you have a calculator, which you do, you're at home, you can use a calculator. Even if you were at school, you could use a calculator. It's not that bad. Like if you don't really know, take 120 divided by 2, then take it divided by 3, then divided by 4. And you'll get the two factors and you can start to figure it out there. This one happens to be 12 and 10. Okay. Now, take these two numbers and divide them by a. So I get x plus 12 over 8 and x plus 10 over 8. Reduce those fractions. So that's x plus 3 halves and x plus 5 fourths. Okay. I guess this is the slip part. Here comes the slide part. Take your denominator and that becomes your new coefficient here. 2x plus 3, 4x plus 5. There you go. You just factored it. Again, I have no really idea why it works, but it works. 2x times 4x is 8x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. 3 times 4x is 12x. 10x and 12x make 22x. 3 times 5 is 15. It worked. Okay, that method is called the slip and slide method. So let's do a couple more of those. I have a feeling this is the one you're going to prefer. If not, feel free to do the guess and check. Obviously, when you take the test, you got a whole lot of time. So let's do 18x squared minus 21x minus 4. Okay, take a times c, so 18 times 4, which would be 72. So I get x squared minus 21x minus 72. This is x squared, so I automatically know it's x and x. Different signs, so one's positive, one's negative. And now I need two numbers whose sum is 21, or I'm sorry, that's wrong, whose difference is 21, and whose product is 72. Okay, you take 72 divided by 3 and you get 24. 24 minus 3 is 21. I want, so 24 and 3 are my two numbers. I need the bigger one to be negative, and that means the smaller one would be positive. Okay, now divide these by a, so I get x plus 3 over 18, x minus 24 over 18. Reduce that, so that's x plus 1/6, x minus 4/3, and then slide that back over to the front. 6x plus 1, 3x minus 4. There we go, we just factored it. All right, the last example has one extra step in it, and it's a really easy extra step. It's not even necessary, but I think it makes things a little bit easier if you do it. And that is if you get one where we have the leading coefficient negative. What I would do is factor that negative out, that -1 out, so you have a leading coefficient that is positive. So then if you factor the -1 out, all the signs change. So -15 becomes positive. -4 becomes +4. +4 becomes -4. And then you would just drop down this -1 every time, and then factor either guess and check or slip and slide. I'm going to do slip and slide. So 15 times 4 is 60. Different signs. Start with x. Plus and minus. So we need two numbers that have a difference of 4 and a product of 60. So that would be 10 and 6. 10 has to be positive because that's we want our bigger number to be positive. Go back through and divide by a. So that is 15 over 10. Oh, no, 10 over 15. I'm sorry. 10 over 15. And then divide by a again. So I get 6 over 15. Reduce. So that is 2/3. And this is, let's see, divide by 3. So that'd be 2/5. And then slide that back over. 3x plus 2 and 5x minus 2. So I get 3 factors. One of them is -1, and then the quantity of 3x plus 2, and then the quantity of 5x minus 2. So that's it for the examples. The problems that I would try and email me about to see if you're doing them right in this section. And again, I'm not going to try to pick a bunch of them. I'm going to, about 6 of them. 16 through 21. So give those a try. Send me your answers via email, and I'll let you know how you're doing.